All right, you guys, we got the legendary Dak Sake here again. And I gotta ask, it's been pressing in my mind for, I think, the past couple of hours, because we've been talking for a minute now. We did a video for Redacted Your Side channel, and we're going to do a video here today talking about Buggy and Blackbeard. But before we get into that, I have to ask, how's your week going, man? Good week?
Dude, I mean, it was going great before the chapter, and then after the chapter, it's somehow going even better. You and I talked about my new cat a lot, Sai, and she's finally warmed up, to the house. She's coming out trying to steal food out of my hands, and that just warms my heart in general to know that we have, another member, and especially you as a cat fan. I know you can vibe with that. But then the chapter came out, and I mean, I've just been going crazy ever since, man. That this might be my favorite chapter of all time. So. Even though earlier in the week I jammed my finger in between the door for the first time in my life, and then I twisted my ankle 5 minutes later, not kidding at all, and I was hurting, and I also had to go get my teeth cleaned all the same day. It doesn't matter anymore.
You sound like a Final Destination victim.
That's how I felt, man. That's how I felt. And then the chapter happened, and then all the pain went away. Yeah. I got some Novocaine from Rocks, and I was good.
I will admit, man, it's such a meme, when people say it's super cheesy, corny, whatever, but there is no better time to be a One Piece fan. Yeah, this is just some good stuff, man, all around. So
I agree.
With the chapter, obviously we got Rocks D Buggy, and one of the main things people are talking about, believe it or not, is Buggy. Just, hey, is this Buggy's son? Is this the modern day Buggy? Why is Oda paralleling their posters so damn hard? What's going on here? And I guess I just want to talk about Buggy and Blackbeard, just them in the current era. Are they going to interact? Because Buggy and Blackbeard, interestingly enough, have not really done much with each other. They fought when they were kids, right? When they were, part of the Roger Pirates and Whitebeard Pirates. They fought. And it was interesting because Buggy and Shanks were always paired up against Blackbeard, seemingly. So I wonder, could you see Buggy and Shanks teaming up against Blackbeard? Do you think Blackbeard even wants to fight Buggy? Is Buggy even on Blackbeard's radar? Because, I don't know, Blackbeard's going after the One Piece, and obviously, Luffy's on the radar, Shanks is on the radar, Eustace, Kid, and Law were on the radar for a minute for their poneglyphs, but he's never once talked about the Genius Jester. So what's going on with that?
Well, I mean, in general, I would imagine Buggy was nowhere on Blackbeard's radar for a long time. And so now that obviously they're both Yonko, which, as far as the evidence, is Buggy Rocks' kid? We have the bounty posters. We have the way, the first time we saw Rocks, he looked like the Cross Guild poster. Half of him did, right? Like Buggy's half of his face. And the fact that Blackbeard and Buggy are both Yonko now, and they also kind of invert a little bit, where they both wear the polka dot bandana thing, right? So there's a lot of connections. So there's something going on. I'll say that much. And as far as Buggy and Blackbeard in particular, agnostic from Rocks, I don't really know what Oda's cooking. I'm gonna be honest with you. Some people have said, is Buggy going to be the one to sit on the empty throne, and Blackbeard's trying to go up there? So is that maybe the story? They're both fighting over the throne because if they are children of Rocks, or even if Buggy's inspired by Rocks, is it that they're gonna, the point of their relationship is that they're competing for the same throne? Is that the idea? Because Luffy isn't really competing for that throne, right? That's, they have different goals in this regard, and not even that Buggy wants to go find the One Piece now, but Buggy, I feel is the type of guy to where, of all the pirates we know of, he might be the perfect one to maybe, sit on the throne at some point. So I really don't know. I do think there's something with Buggy and Rocks, though. Whether they're related or not, I think it'd be a little strange if Rocks got introduced as Blackbeard's dad, and then we don't learn about him being Buggy's dad till later. It's why are you hiding it there? Maybe it's just so Oda can have a fun reveal. But it's Oda could have saved the Blackbeard part at this rate. Obviously he looks like Blackbeard, but we'd be saying the same things we're saying about Buggy if we didn't have that line, I feel like. So I don't know, man. That's a long-winded way of saying I don't know, but there's something brewing. There's something percolating as we speak with Buggy and Rocks. I don't know what it's gonna be. Maybe some cross-guild shenanigans that Buggy has a Davy back fight potentially, like his daddy did. So I don't know. Something's happening though, Sai, for sure.
It's funny because, well before the Blackbeard, Rocks, Buggy stuff, people were already saying that Buggy was the Rocks of this era, like well before. And that's because of Cross-Guild, right? Yes, Blackbeard has a group of strong characters. I don't know. It's crazy. I don't want to call them powerhouses, right? Because I'm not looking at the Blackbeard pirates. I'm like, oh yeah, like that's their Whitebeard. Oh my god, that's their Big Mom. Like, I mean, we can kind of see where they're going. Like, okay, Burgess is a strong man. Devon looks like Big Mom in a way. Like, I could see that. But, when we're talking about like straight powerhouses, Buggy's crew so far has more notoriety because of Mihawk, because of Crocodile. And it's funny, it hasn't even happened yet, but a lot of people, I'm assuming you're on the same boat, but we already kind of assume that he's going to get more warlords. Like, he could get Weevil, which would be the Whitebeard parallel there. We could get Hancock, which people don't like Hancock. I feel like whenever I bring up the warlords, Hancock is the one people like the least in that group, just because she's a Luffy stan, and I'm, that's fair, but Doflamingo, that's another one that could come in. Bon Clay could also come in here because we have Mr. 3, Mr. 1. Why not get Mr. 2? And then as far as that goes, we could get Gecko Moria because he has no home, and we know that he actively hates Blackbeard. So yeah, bring in Gecko Moria. Like, we could bring in so many warlords here, and I guarantee you that pretty much every single one of them will hate Buggy. Minus maybe Weevil because he's stupid, but everybody will not like Buggy, and it's going to be like what happened with Rocks, where he has all these powerhouses, and they don't exactly like Rocks. Like, he's just their captain, but he's not the captain of their hearts.
Yeah, 100%. And, another person you didn't list there that I think is a good example is Law, because he was also a former warlord. And people, I think, just like Boa, I think people might look at Law and think, oh, he's like, he would never join Buggy. He was in alliance with Luffy. Like, he's got a totally different agenda. Well, remember at the end of Wano when we learned about the Cross Guild and Law, I can't remember exactly what he said, but he took Buggy seriously. Like, Luffy's like, wait, no, Buggy's a scrub. What are we talking about? And Law's like, hey, if he's got Mihawk and Crocodile, I don't know, man. And the thing about Law is Buggy's a natural counter for Law, right? If Law cuts Buggy in half, what's it matter? Yeah. So I think Law is going to go, of all people, and meet Buggy and be like, oh my god, this guy is unstoppable, right? This is my pirate king, right? Like, yeah. So and not that Law is going to like love Buggy personality wise or anything, but I do think he's going to have respect for him because he's going to be under some fabricated thing that Buggy's actually strong, which is funny. But going back to, you brought up Boa. I feel like if Oda can find a fun way for Law to join, I feel like he can do the same thing for Boa, because that would be the Gloriosa, right, of the crew, if we're going to make that parallel. And, you went through a lot of the other examples. So I do think that's where it's going to go. And if that culminates into a big Davy backfight, with the Cross Guild against somebody, that would just be an awesome parallel for me, because Buggy isn't strong, but he does have Mihawk, so you use Mihawk in the combat round, keep Buggy in a separate round, and like you can have a lot of fun that way. So, yeah, I totally buy into the pretty much. I think all the warlords are going to join. Honestly, I mean, not like Jinbei, but.
Yeah. Not Jinbei and not Blackbeard, believe it or not. Also, Ace is not going to join. He's like an unofficial warlord as well.
Hey, wait. If Moria joins and we break out the shadow fruit, Sai.
Oh,
go over to Ace's grave. Go get Whitebeard himself. I hope that doesn't happen. What's that?
I said people would hate that, dude.
Yeah, me too.
You know they would.
Me too. But it is possible though. And also, just real quick about Moria, this is something I've talked about a few times, but Moria obviously has a shadow fruit, which is a paramecia, meaning that his seraphim could have the same fruit, and we know that Blackbeard tried kidnapping Moria, taking him hostage, whatever, and Moria escaped. But I think what Oda's setting up is like, oh, well, Blackbeard's just going to get S-Gecko, and then he'll have Moria's powers, and then Cross Guild will also have him, and I don't know if that's just going to be a zombie fest, I don't know where that's going to go, but Zombie Piece is like, very much on the table again, is what I'm getting at. We're going to have two people out there, a part of major crews, who have the powers. So there's something brewing.
I love
there.
Zombie Piece. I thought it was a lot of fun back in Thriller Bark.
Yeah, as long as he does it right. Like, it's funny looking back on it. He brought Rocks pirates back, and we don't view that as like an overstep as far as like, oh, you're bringing back legendary strong people. But like, if you brought back Whitebeard and Ace, I know it's not just that they're legendary strong people; it's that we have like emotional connections to them. But Oda brought up other Rocks pirates, like brought him back, and Whitebeard is a former Rocks pirate. So I don't know, man.
Would it be that crazy?
Yeah.
Man, speaking of that, I'm glad you brought up that point, because that is another place I was going to with Cross Guild. If they get Gecko Moria, there's no reason why we cannot see Captain John as a part of Cross Guild at that point. Captain John, Ganzui, Gil Bestar, the Vega guy who still doesn't have a name. I just call him Vega because he has the 3 claws like Wolverine. Yep. And it's like, yeah, like, I mean, they're zombies, right? Like, even though Moria lost back on Thriller Bark, those zombies, they should still be around. The corpses don't just like disappear, right? For the bodies they do without a shadow, but the zombies are a little bit different because they're just corpses. So we could actually see Captain John again later, and we could get more. We could see Ganzui, we could see more from him. It really just depends on if Moria gives them good shadows, which I gotta admit, man, Moria, I love the guy. One of my favorite warlords. I think he's a lot of fun. But you gotta admit, the way he utilizes Shadow Fruit with those zombies in particular, oh my god, what a waste of potential. Dude, yep. I get it, right? Maybe there's not a lot of good shadows to pick from, but they should be in like the freezer like ores. Like, oh my god, like, oh yeah, I'm waiting for a special shadow to put in Captain John. Oh my god, Gonzoi, I'm waiting for a great shadow. Dude, put Zorro shadow in one of those. I mean, hell, even Ryuma, he used Brook's shadow for that. And yes, Brook is strong. I think Brook was decent. But imagine if he waited for Zorro. Like, oh, we have an actual swordsman. We have Ryuma. Literally, their descendants. Yes, I'm going to put Zorro shadow Ryuma. I think we would get cooked. Like, that would be too powerful.
Yeah, it is interesting that, like, he saved Jigoro for Zorro shadow. Or, like, didn't put a shadow into Jigoro, but then Ryuma gets Brooks. It's like, dude, do it in the reverse. Unless you're trying to imply that Jigoro is above Ryuma, which they're both like legendary swordsmen, right? I know that last cover story with Yamato, a lot of people are saying that that's his grave because he's from the West Blue. But I'm just like, like Ryuma should have got Zoro's, and that would have been an even cooler plot line given their, connection, their familial connection probably. So, yeah, man, it is a little weird. But with Moria joining, it does make sense that he would still have the bodies, right? Like somewhere. Like what you wouldn't want them to just go to waste, I would imagine.
As long as he has
Thriller Bark, like, I don't know. That makes a lot of sense that he would just bring him back. And something that I think is really interesting is going back to Captain John. Remember, Buggy wants Captain John's treasure.
Yes.
So if you bring Captain John back and awaken him, Buggy's going to be like, where's the treasure, bro? And I don't know if, Captain John's not going to be fully himself, but he is like a little bit. Like, that's kind of how it works, right? You have like a little bit of the will of the original person, a little bit of the shadow. So I don't know if Captain John will be able to say something, or maybe Buggy's shadow gets put into Captain John, and that's like something. I don't know. But there's some connection between those two. So I really, really love the idea that Moria brings him back in the Cross Guild somehow.
This is pure, like, fan canon, but imagine we bring the Rocks pirates back, like, the Gonzois and the Captain Johns, and then they look at Buggy and they're like, oh, Rocks, wait a minute, oh, my bad, I mistook you for my old captain. Like, that would be nuts, dude. Like, oh, wait, I see Rocks D Buggy in you. What? Huh?
All the zombies wake up and they ignore Moria and just listen to Buggy. Because they recognize it's like, oh, you have the same will of our captain, screw this guy. Like, we're more, like, that'd be so interesting, given that, the Shadow people are supposed to listen to Moria, but we also saw with, like, Oars, they don't always, right? Even Victoria Sindri, they don't always. So, if they were like, no, we're listening to Buggy, it's like, just to hype up Buggy even more, like, everyone just loves Buggy so much. That'd be awesome, actually.
That's what happens with the prisoners.
What's that?
I was going to say, that's the exact scenario with the prisoners, right? Like, Luffy broke them out, Mihawk and Crocodile are here, but they're just listening to Buggy. Like, that's who they care about, man.
Mm-hmm. I love that, dude. I think we're about to get a lot of Buggy hype with this rock stuff, whether they're related or not. clearly Oda's building something up that's gonna matter later on for sure.
Yeah, this is gonna be a little bit silly, but it's you ever hear that meme like, oh, if we met in a different life, we could be friends maybe. Like, I think that's kind of what Shanks and Buggy are, but with like Roger and Rocks. Because obviously, Shanks and Roger, they have the parallels, and then Buggy and Rocks, they share some parallels too. Obviously, Shanks is not Roger's son, and Buggy is not Rocks' son, but if they both carry on like opposing wills, but they're friends, it's like, oh, like that's literally them if they were friends. Like that there we go.
Yeah, that's a really cool way of thinking about it. Like the fact that Buggy and Shanks were on the same ship, that might imply, they each got inspiration from opposite pirates, right? In a way.
Yeah.
That's actually a really cool... I wonder if there's any other examples we can think of that might be like that, where like they were enemies in the past, but now they're friends. There's probably some, but that's a really cool plot line that I feel like you could almost do like a whole video on. It's a cool story.
Yeah, I mean, because even with the small bits we got of God Valley, we had Roger saying, hey, Rocks, stop this, and then Rocks is like, oh, Roger, get out of the way. It's like, it doesn't sound like they're like haters of each other. It sounds like, unfortunately they're against each other in a way. And then even then, like you brought this up before, I think off call even, you were like, yeah, Roger and Rocks, they fought in the past. Like, they talked about, hey, like, I'll pay you back for this. So maybe they had a Davy back fight a long time ago. Maybe they even fought at Lodestar and then they ended up here. Like, they seem like rivals. And typically when you're a rival with somebody in the world of One Piece, that doesn't mean that you hate the other person necessarily. I mean, hell, look at Luffy and Kid. People would scoff at me calling them rivals, but they kind of are. But they're also like, they're against each other, but they're also kind of friends. Like, they work towards a common goal at times. It's like, that's how I view Roger and Rocks. And I think Shanks and Buggy would just be Roger and Rocks if they were literally friends. Yeah. Brothers almost.
The Kid connection, I think, is really good, because it's like you remember at the end of Wano when like they were having the celebration and Kid's like, I'm gonna go kill Luffy, I'm gonna go in, and Luffy just grabs him like around the shoulder, is like, come here, buddy, let's watch the fireworks. Yeah, it's like and I think maybe a little bit of a plot line there is that like Luffy doesn't mind Kid, but Kid doesn't like Luffy, and I wonder if that's maybe the story where like you think about Garp wasn't really batting an eye when they were saying that Rocks is doing stuff, but then when they're like, oh well, Roger's going, he's like, oh I'm heading out, like I'm ending my vacation early. So like Garp wanted to beat Roger, and if Roger, like the way he said, like, do you know how I felt this past year to Rocks, which is like something about Lodestar because he visited there a year before, and so it's like maybe there's like a triangle where Garp doesn't like Rocks, or Roger, and they have respect for each other obviously because of what happened at the end, but maybe Garp was mainly concerned with taking out Roger. Roger was mainly concerned with taking out Rocks, and Rocks was mainly concerned with taking out Garp, because obviously Rocks, did not like the government. Like, he does not care about anything they're doing. And not that he personally hates Garp, but it's just he's against that whole thing. So maybe there's like a little bit of a triangle there. And so same thing with Kid. Like maybe I don't know. I feel like Kid kind of hates everyone, but maybe it's that, Luffy likes Kid, but Kid hates Luffy, but then maybe Kid likes someone else who hates Luffy or something. I don't know, something like that.
It's like a constant love triangle, man.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's something there. There's Oda has like a million parallels going on that it's hard to even keep track. I don't know. I don't even know what he's gonna do. Yeah,
the P word. You're gonna have to censor that one. I've noticed, the more I say parallels, people are like, not everything has to be a parallel, but it's like, guys, like, it's like the same thing with Nepo Piece. Like, I get it, right? You don't want everything to be a parallel, but Oda's kind of doing that, though. Like, we can't even, like, deny it.
Yep.
Which is the funny part.
But like with the Buggy thing we're talking about, it's, like, do I want Buggy to be Rocks' kid? Do I want Rocks to have a million kids, like he's Genghis Khan, and they're just taking over the pirate world? No, honestly, I don't. I like the inspiration thing. I like people getting, motivated by like their role models and they take after them. I think all that stuff is cool. So I don't want it, but like you said, like it's undeniable, man. The Nepo piece is fully here. We know the Blackbeard thing already, and I don't know if we'll get into it, but all these other, Rocks pirates we met are probably parents of other people. Like we already know Miss Buckin and Whitebeard are Weevil's kid. Don Marlin, probably Gang Beige's kid. We don't really know. Shiki the Wicked. That's Killer's dad. I'm telling you. I feel like that's gonna be Killer's dad. So
same hair.
Yeah, and he also had like Wano-esque clothes on, and I think back to Killer being like Kamazo the Manslayer, and that's the only time he didn't have his mask on was in Wano, and I'm like, is there like a Wano story between those two? For something, I don't know what it would be exactly, but that was like the closest we saw to ever seeing what Killer actually looks like is in Wano, and Shiki, you go back to Higurashi, she had Shiki's face saved, with the clone fruit, so there's a connection somewhere with Shiki and Wano, so I don't know. Like you said, it's Nepo Piece is undeniable. Parallels are undeniable. We just got to see how deep Oda is taking all of it.
Yeah, 100%. And I gotta ask now, but do you speak Vietnamese?
I don't, but there is one word that I know how to translate from Vietnamese now because of what happened after the chapter. So I think I might know where this is going.
Yes. So, shout outs to my wins out there, my winners. But we do have Zabek or Zbeek. I don't know how to pronounce words in Vietnamese. Apologies, guys. I'm not Viet. But Zabek, when spelled out, and obviously there's like a space in between, it does translate to buggy in Vietnamese. Is that a coincidence? I think so. Like, did Oda really do that? I don't think so. I feel like that's just an odd coinky-dink. There's hundreds of languages out there. At some point, we're bound to get something wacky like this. But you gotta admit, it's one of those weird coincidences that people are looking into because, well, like I said, beforehand, we already had that weird Zabek and Buggy connection. So this is just like another thing people are like, oh my god, Oda's cracked. Which, how do you feel about this? Yeah,
it's funny. I think there could be a little something to it, but it's not what I think a lot of people are saying. So whenever I first did the translation, I actually got truck, as did a lot of other people. And then if you go to a couple other translation sites, or maybe just, hit it on the right day, it'll say buggy instead. And so then, with the way languages work, like, oftentimes they're just trying to, like, describe a central thing, like buggy and truck. Like, maybe most people don't think of those as the same thing, but they kind of are, because they're both carrier vehicles, right? Like, a truck, obviously you're gonna pick up truck and put stuff in the back. A buggy, like a horse and buggy, that's like a trailer, like a stroller almost. That's another definition for buggy, is like a stroller for a child, or like an open top small vehicle. Like, that's what buggies are. So whenever you get that translation, I almost think it's like luck of the draw for what the translation thing is going to spit out, because, like, is it going to be truck? Is it going to be buggy? Is it going to be trailer? Like, all these are kind of the same thing, because it's just describing a vehicle that can carry goods. And the reason that ties to Zabek is because a Zabek is a trading ship, right? So I think all of these words are meant to imply carrying goods. And now, so does that mean that there's like an inherent connection? Not really. I think there might be like a little bit of a stretch, like, as far as that translation goes. But we do know that Buggy was involved in Buggy's delivery service, right? And I think that's pretty important in this whole context, because if Zabek is meant to be a trading ship, which we already know that for sure, and then Buggy has this delivery service, and a buggy does translate into, like, something that can carry things, there might be something there. Again, I don't know if it means that they have to be related, but at least that Rocks and Buggy maybe had similar, like, thought processes. Like they both had, businesses, essentially. They're making money. Like, Rocks is more out there, working with the government, getting the gold deposit, doing all these other things to make money. But Buggy was doing the same thing, just in his own way. And even the Cross Guild, they're making money from the underworld due to the cover that the bounties on Marines are giving them, right? Like, the underworld kind of pays them to give them that cover, because now it's easier for them to operate. So they're all working, they're all making money. There's trade involved. So there might be something, but I don't think that translation is like a smoking gun, I guess is what I would say.
Yeah, it's definitely not a smoking gun, which I will admit, I remember growing up as a kid, I heard the term smoking gun. I never really knew why people said that. Later on, of course, I realized the very obvious, it's a smoking gun, that's the murder weapon. But I remember I was like, man, why is the gun smoking? Like, I just imagine like a gun with a cigar. It's like, damn, why is he doing that, man? But yeah, I agree. Like, I feel like maybe we could look back at this like years from now and be like, okay, that was something that Oda thought of, but for now, I think that's just a really fun coincidence.
That's where I'm at. like I said, it could be something with their trade behavior, like making money, but that, I think it's more of a happy coincidence, because like if one definition is a truck and then another one is a buggy, I'm like, buggy almost feels like the wrong translation, you know? Like, truck is probably more so what it is, because nobody really uses the word buggy like that. Like, horse and buggy is the only time I hear it. Maybe it's more common in other languages.
Dune buggy.
But I feel like truck would be more common, so...
Yeah, now I gotta ask, when it comes to Buggy and Blackbeard's interaction in the future, do you think Buggy will align himself with Blackbeard? Like, Blackbeard sees Buggy and he's like, hey, like, you and Crossguild, why don't you help me out real quick? You know, we're taking down the WG. Because maybe Blackbeard has a weird perception of Buggy right now, because Buggy is known for marine hunting. Blackbeard could see that as an opportunist and say, oh, wow, like, I could definitely work with this guy right here. You know, like, yeah, Buggy has money, he's got the operation, let's work together. Or do you think Buggy would actually work against Blackbeard and with Shanks? Because, like I said, you know, back when they were kids, Buggy and Shanks teamed up against Blackbeard. That was kind of like their matchup in a way. So maybe we could get a repeat of the past, where Buggy and Shanks, you know, I don't think Shanks needs Buggy, but I don't know. I do think that Shanks and Buggy work really well together. I feel like if we're talking about, like, synergy, I do think Buggy and Shanks have a lot of weird and really fun combination attacks that we just don't know of yet. Like things we wouldn't expect. Like, Shanks like, hey, Buggy, you know, have you watched Superman?
Like, which one?
The new one.
Like, just, some of them.
No, like
you said the new one?
Superman.
I thought you said any of them, sorry.
Oh, my bad.
No, I haven't seen the new one.
Ah, damn. Okay, but like imagine Shanks says, hey, Buggy, activate code 57, and then Buggy just, I don't know, just throws a knife in a weird direction, and it, like, works out perfectly. Like, I could see them being, like, great partners, just because they worked together in the past. But yeah, where do you see Buggy aligning, with Shanks or with Blackbeard?
Well, the Shanks, the combo attack idea I really like, and I can see that happening. I don't know what the context would be. I don't know what the attack would be. But I think that's a really cool idea, especially because Buggy can, like, break his body apart, right? And so I feel like there's something... Like, I almost think of docking, right? Going back to Thriller Bark. Like, Buggy's, like, the perfect docking partner, because he can just, like, split his body up to however he needs to make everything fit. So I think that's just, like... That's a really cool idea. But I also think what Oda has established in the last, like, 100 chapters or 75 chapters is, like... Buggy and Shanks are now in opposition to one another, because Buggy, like, his inspiration now to go get the One Piece is like, well, hey, you know, like Shanks didn't go for it. I want to pass him. I want to pass everybody. Like he's kind of he's now in the mindset of needing to be better than Shanks. It's not just like, you know, I'm gonna act this way because Shanks is acting that way. Like, he's not going for it, so I'm not gonna go for it. Like, Buggy has moved past that, and he's doing his own thing, chasing his real dream. So I think they'd be in opposition. And something that whole idea you just told me made me think of is, you know, Buggy and Blackbeard teaming up would kind of make sense, because then if they teamed up, the other two Yonko would team up, meaning that Luffy and Shanks team up. So then you have Luffy and Shanks versus Blackbeard and Buggy. And I don't know I don't know where this would happen, if it's actually like a big battle, or if this is just like a strategic partnership, not like a 2-on-2 battle type situation. But it would make sense that if you were going to pair up some of these Yonko, Buggy and Blackbeard would be the most likely, because Shanks and Luffy would be the most likely, right? So I don't know what will come of that, but I didn't think about that, but I like where your head's at, Sai. I think something like that could go down. And now my brain's really cooking. Now I'm thinking of something. So, Garp. We don't know what's happening with Garp yet. And a theory that I've had for a while is that Garp's going to get sold to Crossguild, because Blackbeard definitely wants to leverage him to get into the rivalry, get his country recognized, whatever it is. But the government doesn't like Garp. Yes, the world does, and maybe the Marines do, but the government hates Garp. They probably don't mind letting him die at this point, because he's just annoying. He doesn't listen to them. He hates the Celestial Dragons, whatever. He does his own thing. He went and attacked an emperor when he wasn't, or like an emperor's island, I guess, when Marines aren't supposed to without approval and stuff. So like he was with Sword, at least that day. We don't really know if Garp's in Sword. I feel like at this point he probably is, but if Garp gets sold to Crossguild, that builds a connection between Buggy and Blackbeard, right? And that might be where it starts, where they make some kind of partnership. I don't know what it would be, but that could just be the start of their alliance of sorts. And again, they both want to accomplish, kind of the same thing. Like, if Blackbeard wants to become king of the world and Buggy wants to go get the One Piece now, maybe that's like their idea. Like, they each get a different thing out of it. But I feel like it almost makes more sense for the opposite to happen, for Buggy to end up being king of the world and Blackbeard to go to Laugh Tale. So I don't know what ends up coming of it, but the Garp connection, I feel like it would be the good segue to making that work. So you might be onto something.
Yeah, just speaking about Buggy becoming king of the world, I think that would be really fun, because it does remind me of Buggy's intro, where he's like posed up on the chair. It's like, imagine that now, but on the empty throne. Like, I
Yes.
feel like that could definitely happen, and then, we know that Buggy just keeps on falling upwards. So, yeah, like, he's gonna end up in the Holy Land somehow, some way. As far as, like, him and Shanks teaming up, even though they are on opposing sides, I could see it for a split moment against Blackbeard, just because they're talking about their captain's treasure. Right, Roger...
Okay.
He was the captain of Buggy and Shanks, and obviously Shanks knows the type of guy that Roger's probably waiting for. And in that same vein, I'd like to imagine Buggy would too, and if Buggy doesn't, I could see Shanks easily swaying Buggy to his side, saying, hey, Buggy, like, Captain would have wanted us to do this. And then Buggy, being a whole nostalgia merchant, Buggy doesn't say it, but Buggy and Shanks, I think they do live off of nostalgia heavily. Like, the whole thing where Shanks is like, man, like, what is this, like, 10, 20 years later, Shanks is like, man, I really wish I could just sail with Buggy, man. And then there's Buggy, who gave up on his dream for the most part, until just recently wanting to go after the One Piece. And during that's when we got the whole, like, Buggy reveal about how he wanted to join Shanks. He wanted Shanks to be the next Pirate King. So it's like, yeah, like, they're both living off of that whole, like that Roger nostalgia. So if Shanks is like, hey, Buggy, Blackbeard isn't the guy that Roger's waiting for, I think that would trigger, like, a Winter Soldier moment within Buggy, where he's like, you know what, you're right. Like, I don't want you to become Pirate King. I want to do that now, but also, we cannot let Blackbeard be that guy.
Yeah, it's funny you said nostalgia merchant, because I feel them. I am also a nostalgia merchant. Space Jam's my favorite movie, just because I watched it as a kid. So I get it. I'm big time nostalgia merchant. I'm playing I got the Switch 2, and I bought the expansion pass, which lets you play the old games, and that's all I'm playing on my brand new Switch 2 system is Nintendo 64 games, so I feel you. But about Buggy and Shanks, I feel like an interesting thing is, we saw Buggy and Shanks team up against Blackbeard back in the Whitebeard Roger thing, right? Back whenever they fought each other. And so maybe that is like the parallel where, like, they'll eventually come back, because they also talked about how Blackbeard doesn't sleep there, and maybe they'll team up when Blackbeard does sleep because he transforms or something, and they have to work together. I don't know, something like that. But I like what you're saying about, like, Buggy will kind of come around because, it's like they're defending their captain's dream or whatever it is, right? They just know they have to stop Blackbeard. Well, maybe what happens is they do the Garp exchange, so they pay Blackbeard like $3 billion, and maybe he even gets other Marines, so it's like a lot of money. Because if you look at the most recent chapter, Rocks got a ton of money, right? That's what really kickstarted his whole pirate career, I guess I should say. He already had some of his crew together from the Davy back fights and stuff, but we saw that his idea was to take down, Pirate Island and split all the loot between them. It's because the government was going to pay them to take care of that island, like, and take out all the pirates and get it under control. They were going to get the amount of gold that was hidden in the island, and they just got the island itself and probably enslaved or, brought in a lot of those pirates into their crew. So him getting all that money and those resources was a huge lift for him. And I'm wondering if that's where Blackbeard's at now too. So if he goes and works with Buggy and sells Garp or whatever, gets all that money, so that's like his Kickstarter kind of for his company, I guess, for his startup, then maybe that's the point where Buggy, then realizes a little bit later on, like, oh, okay, I created a monster. Blackbeard with this money is unstoppable. Like, now I'm going to lose. Like, this whole world's going to get taken over because Blackbeard did all this because he has so much money and so many weapons, so many people under him, whatever it is. And that might be where Buggy's like, all right, Shanks, we got to do it. We got to take him out. And to be clear, I don't think they will take out Blackbeard because that's Luffy's job, absolutely. But I could see them teaming up, and I don't know if that's where Shanks dies and maybe Buggy escapes. I don't know, who knows how that goes down, but That's a really cool idea, man. I could see that. That'd be a big hype just to have them have a final moment together and kind of team up against, a giant like a giant enemy that they haven't Shanks hasn't been able to beat because he got scarred, and so like they team up one final time. I think that's a good idea. I like that.
You know what's funny? I just thought about too. Another Rocks and Buggy parallel. Yes and no, but Buggy had Haredin in his crew for a little bit, and Rocks always wanted Harold in his crew. So Buggy had Harold's son in his crew, so he succeeded where Rocks failed in a way.
And remember, where did Harold find Ida at originally?
A circus.
And then where did Ida's child work after that?
Bro.
Like later on?
A circus. It's all
for
coming
a clown
around. I don't know what it is. There's something about clowns. You just gotta love them.
I know, and yeah, that Haredin connection's really cool, man. Like I think if that just ends up being a cool little Oda tidbit, like, hey, look, I was able to tie Haredin and his mom to circuses, like, haha, like that's enough to make it cool for me. But there, like we just talked about, there's a lot of potential story beats you could take out of that parallel further, like they could tie to Buggy in the future. So, I don't know. That's just such a cool connection to me.
Yeah. So a couple more things with Buggy that I want to talk about before we move on to Blackbeard. But I guess it's like Buggy, Blackbeard adjacent. But for Loki, by the end of Elbaf, where can you see him going? Is he going to join the Straw Hat Grand Fleet? Is he going to join his brother Haredin? Is he going to go solo? Or do you think he would align with the Yonko, i.e. Blackbeard, who wants to take over the world, like his hero? Or do you think he might work for Buggy?
I feel like whenever I saw when Luffy asked Loki to join, and then we later saw like his eyes and all that, I was like, okay, Oda, these are the types of things Oda does for new crew members, right? Like that's how it feels. But at the same time, we do have some logistical issues, like Loki will not fit on the ship. And could we like enlarge the ship? Sure, but then the regular sized people would have a hard time getting around. Like imagine Jinbei trying to steer the ship when he can't see anything, and the steering wheel's like 10 times his size. Like there's issues either way to have somebody that big on the ship. But I think Oda has telegraphed that bare minimum Loki's going to be an ally for our side. If I had to guess, he's going to end up becoming like a Momo type person where like, is he a crew member? No, but he could get on the ship and feel like a crew member at any point, right? Because he's already spent time with us, and he's got a lot of just cool story beats to him and stuff. But you also got to think about Haredin. I think that's the linchpin in this, and the fact that Elbaf doesn't have a king, because there's the giant warrior pirates who need a leader, and there's Elbaf who needs a leader. And I don't know if that can be the same person. If it can, then it's going to be Haredin and Loki gets on the ship. But I'm thinking that Haredin becomes king of the giants, because he said that was his dream during Dressrosa, to become the king of the giants. And that's like, and Loki has been like the prince this whole time, so he's had the bloodline, but not like the mental fortitude to be a king, because he's like just too combative and stuff like that. So I think Haredin has more the temperament to be a king. So maybe what happens is Haredin becomes the king, but then Loki takes Haredin's spot as the leader of the giant warrior pirates. So then he almost is like reliving what Harold did. And then that puts Loki in the same spot as Harold, where it's like, Luffy's like, hey, join my crew. And Loki's like, I can't. And it's like, it's the same thing as Harold. Like, he kind of wants to join, but he can't for whatever reason. And I just want to talk about this somewhere. At the end of the chapter, we got that thing with Loki looking at what Rocks is saying, and he says, Loki suddenly realized he had found salvation. And I feel like we're going to get a little bit of a moment there with Luffy at some point, where he's going to see something that Luffy does, and he's going to have the same like feeling. He's going to have salvation again, because he's like, my old role model died 38 years ago, but now I'm seeing someone who carries the same aura. Not that he has the same dream, mind you, but I do think that's where it's going to go. So Loki, I think Loki's for sure joining our side, basically. But I don't know if he's getting on the ship. Yeah,
I don't think he's going to join the ship. Unless he can get smaller, I don't think it's going to happen. Like you said, the logistical issues I think are just so insane. Like when people say, "Oh, let's just make the ship bigger," I'm like, guys, that is not the solution.
That causes more problems.
It would work for Loki 100%. You know, I don't know where we'd get all the wood to do this. I mean, Loki's bigger than your average giant. Like the ship would have to be massive, and then at that point. It's like you said, like, oh, Jinbei, get the wheel. I can't, Luffy-kun. The wheel is 50 times larger than me. You know?
Yep, I can't even see now over the steering wheel. Like,
hey, Sanji, we need dinner. Well, cool, Luffy, but I can't cook. The stove is the size of an entire island.
Dude, the cola. Let's do a kude burst. Frankie's like, Luffy, I cannot pick up like a lake-sized amount of cola to load in here to do the kude burst. I'm sorry.
Yeah, and then they had trouble pulling the lever too for the kude burst originally. So imagine pulling a giant-sized lever. Like, oh no, like Loki would have to do everything. Like, it just wouldn't make sense. We need Loki to get smaller, or we just need him to join Haredin and, you know, become a part of his crew, so that he would officially be under the Shroud flag while not being like a Nakama member.
Yeah, that makes the most sense. And you look at Oda's strategy lately, didn't get Karen on the crew, didn't get Yamato on the crew. Like, Bonnie has, like, tagged along with us, but Bonnie has not been named a Straw Hat in any way. Like, Luffy hasn't asked to join the crew or anything like that. So, you know, Oda loves doing this pseudo Straw Hat situation, and I feel like that's where this is kind of headed, is, like, it's, like, Oda, and from Oda's perspective, he can't give all these people the time and love that they need if they're on the crew. Like, if Loki gets on the ship and is a full-fledged member, that means that he's got to start making plans for Loki every arc, or like, you know, he can't leave Loki by the side very often. It's like he's gonna have to build some like unique character stuff, like how Jinbei is like always like really serious, or you know what I mean, like taking everyone super seriously and not understanding the gags, and he's just like a little bit behind. Like, that's his thing. Like, he would have to make a funny Loki thing and show it to us time and time again, so we, you know, really believe that, like, okay, that's a true character trait. That's who he is. But like, if you only see it every once in a while, it feels kind of random. So like, joining the crew is a whole upper level. But him, you know, joining the fleet and then being at Luffy's beck and call whenever he needs to, so he can join the final war, I feel like that's probably the best place for him to be, I think.
Yeah. And even if he doesn't join the fleet, I could see him being kind of like Bonnie, where he tags along for a little bit. Like, maybe Luffy's like, hey, I'm gonna go take down Emu. And then he's like, oh, you know what? They killed Rocks. I want to go too. Or no, like, I'm gonna kill him first. Like, it could be like one of those things.
Mm-hmm. I think that could definitely be it.
Yeah, and now another thing I gotta bring up too is Blackbeard. You know, going back to him for a second, but when it comes to Blackbeard and Garp, do you think that is where we're going to get the God Valley flashback? And since Blackbeard is Rocks' son, do you think he holds a grudge against Garp for killing his old man? Does he even know?
Yeah. The last thing you said is what I was going to say. I don't know if Blackbeard knows, and I feel like this is a mystery we have to figure out in general, is like, Blackbeard was, 2 years old when Rocks died at God Valley? Yeah. So, like, I don't think that's old enough for him to, you know, retain a lot of information that Rocks was telling him and stuff. So it's like, what does Blackbeard know about Rocks? And it's like, is he just following in Rocks' footsteps because of the lineage? Is it because someone told him and so he knows what the plan is? Like, is he picking up where Rocks left off? You know, you look at that line where Rocks is like, I'll be back. Is that implying, like, okay, he knows that, like, it's got to be the next generation. Like, he needs a kid that can have multiple devil fruits, basically, if he's going to beat Emu, and maybe that's why Blackbeard was going for the dark fruit the whole time, he was, you know, told by his dad or told by someone, like, oh, if you want to beat the top, you're going to need this power specifically. So I guess, as far as, like, you know, God Valley, like, what does he know, or is there going to be, you know, a little bit of a grudge over what happened? I honestly don't think so. I honestly don't think Blackbeard is too hell-bent on just revenge for revenge's sake. He seems to be someone who's always like, is this going to help me get to my final goal, yes or no? So I don't know. So I don't know. I really don't know Oda's cooking up with the God Valley stuff. But I would venture a guess Blackbeard knows, but I don't think he cares in the sense of like, getting payback. That's what I think.
Yeah, he doesn't care about getting payback.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, though, I think he's set up in such an interesting way where even if he doesn't want payback, I think he will want to know the truth.
Yeah.
And, this goes back to what, I mean, this isn't a new thought, right? I think everybody knows that this is going to happen. But Blackbeard and Pudding. Pudding has the memory extraction devil fruit. Well, the memory no me. So there is a really good chance that, Garp, a guy who doesn't want to talk about God Valley, will get that information extracted out of him because of Pudding.
Yeah, I love that. I think a lot of people assume that it's the third eye thing. That's what Blackbeard's going for.
Yeah.
I think it's the memory fruit, because what is Blackbeard's number one obsession? Devil fruits, right? That's all he thinks about. He's collecting fruits, trying to give them out to his crew, trying to eat multiple, whatever. Like whenever he kidnapped, or I guess he didn't really kidnap, took Moria hostage, probably because he wanted the shadow fruit, and that's going back to the S gecko or S bat of it all, because now Blackbeard can get that fruit in a different way. So I think because like devil fruits are only useful if somebody ate it most of the time. Like you kind of need somebody who can actually use the powers, and so that's why I think his crew all has fruits. He already has multiple. They might be kind of tapped out, and so that's why he's getting Pudding. Oh, she already has the fruit, so we just got to make her do what we need, and then we're good. Go get Moria, make him do what we need. So yeah, I like the idea that Pudding's being used for that. I think Garp makes a lot of sense. You might wonder, like, does Garp have enough hockey to stop Pudding from doing that? I kind of think he should, but I don't think Oda would do that. I think it's too hype for Blackbeard to get the memories from Garp to stop that from happening. So I do think I think that's a very high likelihood.
Yeah, and then not just that too, but we could just say, yeah, Garp has the hockey to stop it, but also he's chained up, and I feel like the more injured you are, the less likely you are to utilize great hockey. Like maybe he's like, oh,
True.
on a regular day I could stop this, but every time I try, Blackbeard puts some lead in me. Like I could see Aokiji and Vasco shot on the side just literally shooting Garp every time he's like denying it. It's like, yeah, like he can't stop this.
True. Yeah. If they're just gonna be like, well, we're gonna torture you until you just let us do it, then yeah. And honestly, if I were Oda, what I would do is I would make some showing of Garp being able to stop them, but then he's like, but I'll let you because I want you to see this, right? Like what if he wants Blackbeard to see God Valley because it's going to change his perspective on it or something like that? I don't know. But I think Garp wants them to see it. I think he would purposefully not stop it, because this isn't like something that he probably cares about being a secret anymore. He doesn't care what the government thinks. He knows his time is almost done. Which I love Garp, but the clock is ticking. So,
and then with Garp too, I feel like maybe he even knows that Blackbeard is Rocks' son. And it's like, okay, I don't want to tell anybody about God Valley, but since you're his kid, fine. I'll make an exception. I'll let you see it. Because that could also be it. Like, hey, like I owe it to Rocks, so sure.
So then we'd maybe be getting the God Valley flashback through Garp's eyes, like instead of the current flashback we're in. Which, like, if it happens in this current flashback, I'm not going to complain. I feel like we've gotten a lot, and I don't know if we need the God Valley flashback, just because whenever Oda packs all the hype quickly together, I'm like, okay, Oda, I don't want the story to end. Please slow down, So
yeah.
If he pushes the God Valley flashback back a little bit, then I think I'd want it to happen the way you're saying, through Garp's perspective, because that would be the coolest. That might be the coolest perspective to see it through. Like, I mean, Rocks would be a good perspective too, but Garp, because he would be more, because like he protected the Celestial Dragons and he hates them, so I do think his perspective would be really pertinent, where he's like, things are so bad, I gotta team up with my rival Roger, and I want to see that, so I could see it.
Oh yeah, 100%. And going back to Buggy for 1 second, I guess this could be a Blackbeard thing too, but when it comes to Cross Guild, like I said, we kind of already assumed that he's gonna get more than the warlords that he has now. Will Buggy be the one to lead the Impel Down 2.0 breakout? Or will that be Blackbeard? Or will that come from inside the house? Like Doflamingo, for
Well,
example.
I definitely think the prisoners will end up in the Cross Guild. I'll say that much. Now, whether Buggy starts it is another story. The problem with the Cross Guild doing the breakout, in my opinion, is what's the motivation? Like, people might say, oh, well, they're going to go get more members. I'm like, they don't know that. They don't know that the prisoners are just going to join. Like, is it because they're going to force them? Say, like, hey, we'll only free you if you join us, which maybe that's it. But then they don't know they're even going to get out of Impel Down. Like Buggy only got out because Luffy came in and did it. He knows firsthand how hard it is. So does Crocodile. So that's always been my issue. Is there'd have to be some motivation that pushes them down there. Like somebody in there has necessary info, or maybe if somebody in there knew where the 4 road poneglyphs were, then that's enough reason, because it's cheaper to go in there, or quicker to go in there and get that info from that one person. Because I can't see them, especially with like how, I don't know if this is the right word, but like timid Mihawk and Croc are, where like they aren't like going gung ho like Buggy. They're like trying to be really smart and like kind of slow about it. Where Buggy's like, let's just go gung ho and do it all right now. Let's beat everyone to the end. It's like, I don't see Croc and Mihawk like happily wanting to go do that plan. If Buggy says it, they'll probably listen. So I don't know. If I had to pick a group, I think I'm sticking with the Marco group, the old Whitebeard pirates, because they want to free Weevil. I think that's the most likely thing, because it's like that's their brother. It's their brother that's locked up. It's just like Luffy going for Ace. It's an adopted brother. Weevil doesn't know it yet.
Yeah, but Weevil's over here destroying the Whitebeard remnants in the meanwhile.
But he doesn't know, because he got the propaganda from Miss Buckin.
Yeah. Which I gotta say, if Weevil joins Cross Guild, it's kind of funny because Miss Bokkins would come with him.
Mm-hmm.
So we'd have like the old Stussy and Buggy's crew, which would be kind of crazy.
Yeah, the parallels would be just
off the
crazy
charts,
at that point.
Yeah, so as far as like why they want to break them out, I feel like Doflamingo is a really great reason. So back during the chapter where Buggy said, hey, like I want to go after the One Piece, Mihawk and Crocodile were talking about needing money and power. And I was like, okay, like how could we, fit this in, right? Crocodile wants military might. And then I believe Mihawk wanted money? No, I think it was flipped. But either way, they wanted money and power. As far as money goes, I feel like Doflamingo could be a great provider of that, because he used to be like a part of the underworld. Maybe that's the connection they need. And they're like, yeah, like, Doflamingo, he wanted to work with Crocodile during Marineford. Maybe we take him up on that offer nowadays and bring him into the Enterprise. I could see that being the case. And then I think as far as power goes, that's where Moria comes in. Moria comes back and we're like, okay, Undead Army. Perfect. And then they could perfectly utilize not just Thriller Bark and their corpses, but the Marine corpses. Like, we could have like zombie Garp. We could have zombie T-Bone.
Which I would love that. He kind of already looks like a zombie, to be honest with you. He's already halfway there. Yeah, I mean, Doflamingo would like, if Oda were to do this, it would have to be Doflamingo centric. Like, unless there's like a new character we don't know of, like I don't even know, like a new Ivankov level person who has all sorts of info about the world and the prisoners and stuff. Because like Ivankov's the one to name drop some of Blackbeard, the people who eventually joined Blackbeard's crew and stuff. So I don't know if there's like something there, but the thing with Doflamingo is, like, for one, they wouldn't know if he's actually going to help them. I do think like Crocodile would probably use the same logic where he joined Luffy, and maybe he would just say like, oh yeah, no, people, like, he'll do anything to get out of there, trust me. And like, maybe he just knows, and so that's it.
Yeah.
But as far as the underworld thing goes, like, Croc is already deeply embedded with them. Like, that's how he makes his money. And so I don't know if it'd be the money thing, but it could be like the secret of Marie-Joie thing, right? Like, if they need to figure out like how we're going to beat the people at the very top, maybe that's where they want him. But then the issue there, which I think Oda can work through this, but if Doflamingo and Law are both set up to join the Cross Guild, that's a little bit of a problem, like, I don't think Law is going to do that very happily. So Oda can make it work, but that's the toughest connection. Like when people say like, "Oh, Boa won't join," I'm like, I could find a reason. You know, like Boa will always love Luffy, but I can find a reason. Like Mr. Two, I can find a reason. Law and Doflamingo have too much beef, and the beef is too fresh. You know, the beef hasn't grayed whatsoever. That is fresh, like not past the expiration date beef. So
what's kind of interesting about Law and Doflamingo is that Law does have something that Doflamingo doesn't know about. And that's the full name. Trafalgar D. Water Law.
Yeah.
Because Corazon told Law at a very early age to hide that name from Dofi. You know, we just learned about that through Sengoku and Law's interaction. What if Doflamingo hears the D and his attitude flips? Not in a bad way. But maybe he's like, oh, like, you're a D-Clan member? I need you. Like we need you here. And the reason why is because, like, Doflamingo, his whole goal of working with Kaido was to bring the world down to a crumble. He wanted to destroy everything. Not because he wants world domination, but more so because he's salty about the Celestial Dragons and how him and his family got disowned, essentially, after Homing decided to leave. So it could be a case where he sees Law, and he's like, oh, you're a D-Clan. Like, I need you. Like, wait a minute. Like, I could tell you what it's all about. Like, maybe that's where it all comes together. And it's like the rise to a safe thing, right? You think you're going to get one reaction from a certain character, but it's something completely different. Like, Law comes out as a D, and we expect Doflamingo to flip out, but he's like, oh, wait, no. Like, that's perfect. Like, you are the key to all of this.
Yeah, that would be kind of cool. And he can, like, apologize. Like, he does, like, he, like, bows to him or something, and he's like, I had no idea. I don't know, like, I don't know what the story would be there as far as, like, who is the Water Clan or whatever that is. Like, what does the Water
Law Clan.
Yeah, which, like, I know that at least what a lot of people talk about is the implication is like tying it to like Waterloo, right? So I don't know if there's some like historical stuff we could think of there, but I really like that idea, because don't get me wrong, Doflamingo, he's never gonna get redeemed, but it would be pretty impactful if it's not that he changed his mind and became good, but it's that he misunderstood how Law played into his evil plans, you know? So he's like, I should have been nicer so I could have been eviler to everyone, is kind of the idea. Like, I should have, like, if I was nicer, I could have used you for this. And we could have, you know? But as long as he apologizes and has like I don't know, some kind of assurance of like not that like I'm under you, but just like the beef is behind us and it was all my fault and I'm never going back kind of thing, right? That's like the only way that Law would ever have any amount of agreement to joining, I feel like, because no matter how scared he is of Buggy, if that theory ends up being true, it's just like that is I don't know. It would be cool if that storyline wasn't done, the Law and Doflamingo. So I just got to see how Oda does it, but it's definitely something he has to cover if that's going to work.
Yeah, we could even get the whole thing where it's like, hey, you know, Doflamingo could just like take the loss on the cheek. Like, yeah, like I lost now. Like you've proven, you know, Corazon's will, it's still here. Sure. If he just accepts the loss.
A Corazon callback. Like, what if he straight up said, my brother was right, I was wrong? And it's like, that would probably impact Law more than just a general apology. Saying like, Corazon, like, I should have been more like my brother. And he's like, yeah, you should have.
It could even be like a Sengoku situation where Sengoku saw Law and he could have captured him, but he's like, you know what, like Corazon, he risked his life for you. Let's see what happens. Right? Because, I mean, let's be real here. Sengoku, if he went all out during Dressrosa when he was there and there was a weakened Law, weakened Luffy, and Fujitora, like the Straw Hats would have been cooked. I think Pseudo was there too, right?
She showed up later. Or yeah, so she showed up with Sengoku, so she would have been there at the same time.
Yeah.
Right? They arrived on the same ship.
If they all went full out, I mean, the Straw Hats, so as well as Law, they'd be done. But, you know, Sengoku wanted to believe in what Corazon gave his life for. So maybe that's like Doflamingo's whole thing, where he's like, okay, like I lost already. You're now worth 3 billion berries. Let's see what Corazon sacrificed everything for. And then they showed the D-Clan thing, and he's like, okay, I think this is fate. This is just silly.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, I really need some more Sengoku and Law stuff, Oda. If you're watching this, which of course Oda is, right? Oda watches all of your videos. We know that for a fact. So, Oda, whenever you watch this, I'm ready for Sengoku and Law hype with Corazon. I don't know. I feel like that's the Cross Guild thing because Oda's building up a beef specifically with Sengoku and Cross Guild, and if Law ends up going over there, I feel like that's where they intersect. Maybe they team up together against Cross Guild until they lose to Buggy, and then Law's like, all right, I'll join you. I don't know how that works, but I need the Sengoku and Law connection back. The Corazon's been, I guess technically in Wano we heard of him because Law did the re-room thing and made Big Mom quiet, which was definitely a Corazon callback. But we haven't had a lot of Corazon hype recently, so I'm ready for that.
Yeah, and one last thing about Cross Guild too. One interaction I think people kind of sleep on. Doflamingo and Mihawk. With Doflamingo being a celestial dragon, we'll finally get more from this interaction if Mihawk is also a celestial dragon too.
Yeah.
Which is a heavy theory. I don't know if you subscribe to that. But Mihawk, his origins are odd.
Yeah, well, what's your version of it? Don't you have the vampire theory?
I think Mihawk is a descendant, maybe even a bastard child of a celestial dragon. I think there is going to be a bat type of Holy Knight out there, because we still haven't explained the carrier bats that the world government uses. You could say that was Stussy. I think that's fine if people are like, oh, that was actually Stussy using the Bat no Mi. Sure.
Yeah.
But either way, with Dracula Mihawk and all the vampire call-ins, I think there will be just a vampire Holy Knight in general, or a blood-related Holy Knight. And Mihawk, I think he's one of them because of one of his attack moves, which is, I think it's like the 16-day moon is what it's called. Or like a variation of that. It's 16 days something. 16 new moons, 16 day moons. It's one of those two. It's a non-canon attack that Oda and his team, they typically work with game studios. We mentioned Odyssey a while back in your video talking about the ancient weapons and how Oda created like a fourth ancient weapon. And in that same vein, Oda and his team, they work with Pirate Warriors. And Pirate Warriors, Mihawk does have a 16 moon attack. And 16 is a huge thing with the world government and celestial dragons, right? You heard about it back in Sympathy, where if you defy a celestial dragon, they'll shoot you 16 times. The Oxloid Bell is rung 16 times per tradition. Doflamingo has the 16 holy bullets, and then Emu...
sorry, I was saying Lucia had 16 light beams.
And then for Emu, you break the name down, it's 1-6, E and Mu. And people are like, oh, that's not how you say it. But I'm like, okay, well, look at Gomu, right? Gomu is 5-6. There's a lot of ways to say numbers in Japanese, and Emu is a way to say 1-6 for 16. So with Mihawk having a 16 named attack, which is very obvious and very on the nose for Oda and his team to put into a game, it's like, yeah, I think there's deeper meaning here, right? Some other moves, maybe not, but I feel like 16 is so oddly specific, even more so than the Buggy Zebek poster, even more so than the Buggy Vietnamese translation. I feel like this is going to be something that's going to be the case. I'm not saying that, Mihawk is going to be a bad guy and become a Celestial Dragon wannabe, but I think he simply has the bloodline, and that's pretty much where it stops. And that could be where he met Shanks too, right? In this King Harold flashback, we're expecting to see Shanks. Who's to say we don't see Mihawk up here, right? Because we're talking about a young Shanks. There should be a Shanks that's still fighting Mihawk, who, because he has both of his arms. We could see Mihawk up here, and this is how Shanks and Mihawk start their rivalry. Just two dropouts from the Holy Knights, from the Celestial Dragons, and they have this, I wouldn't say like rivalry, but, they're like, hey, like, your family hates you, my family hates me, let's spar a little bit.
I like that. I like that a lot. I mean, I've definitely heard the general theory that that Mihawk is like a former God's Knight or Celestial Dragon in some way, shape, or form. And I've always liked that. But I really like the way you were just talking about it. Especially the Shanks and Mihawk thing, because we know Shanks went back for a little bit, and so part of me wonders, like, whenever Shanks went back, is that where he met Mihawk? And then whenever Shanks left, Mihawk's like, well, I liked fighting that guy. Like, I didn't like fighting these guys. These are all too weak. I want to go fight him again. And that's why he left. I think that'd be cool. Another idea that kind of ties to something we talked about in the video we did on my channel, but with the Man-Meyer Gunko thing, my sort of headcanon on it right now is that there was a former Man-Meyer child who left Marijois, and then that's why they took Gunkos, because they needed to replace that child, because they needed to have like another God's Knight to replace them, so that way they always have like a Man-Meyer God's Knight available. And what if that one was Mihawk? I mean, I don't know. Like, I know his name's not Man-Meyer Mihawk, but like I don't know if Dracule is really his family name, or if that's just like the name he took whenever he left the place or whatever. But I think it'd be, because that seems like a smoking gun a little bit of maybe somebody who left Marijois in the recent, I don't know, certain amount of time. I guess he's only 43, and we just saw maybe Gunko. We don't really, probably Gunko 80%. That was 56 years ago, so that timeline doesn't match up. But regardless, Shanks left. Maybe this Man-Meyer kid left. The Doflamingos left. I've always backed the theory that Green Bull and Mjosgard are related. They look the exact same. Green hair, same lips, same eyebrows. They look the exact same. And that's another Don Quixote. So I'm like, okay, did another family member leave in a generation before that? And that's where Green Bull came, because Green Bull has like a Celestial Dragon attitude, I feel like. So it might make sense if he's an offshoot as well. So yeah, I don't know. I like that idea, man. I think for now, it's probably a good default to just say that Mihawk is a former God's Knight. Like, it just feels, it just feels right.
It's all right there. And then plus, like, we have the rabbit hunting tournament where, they're hunting rabbits, and Mihawk was introduced saying, hey, I'm not a fool that hunts a rabbit with a cannon. And, people are like,
such a cool line.
Dude, it's so fucking cool. And people have, like, the cope where they're like, oh, that was 1,000 chapters ago, right? It's nothing. But I'm like, okay, sure. But then how do you explain, like, SBS? I don't remember the exact number, but it was later on where Oda drew the kids of Crocodile, Mihawk, and Doflamingo, like, a what-if version. Like, what if they have sons or daughters? And Mihawk, his son, says, what do you want, rabbit? Yeah, I'm looking at it right now. I had to close in. So it's like, yeah, dude, like, it's not just like a Mihawk thing. Like, his son literally calls people rabbits as like a derogatory term. It's like, brother, I don't know, so man. Like, it's all right there, man. And then of course, like, Mihawk and Emu share the eyes. It's like, he could be Nerona. I think Nerona and Mihawk is like right there.
I could see that too. I actually really like that idea. Now if that is true, then you kind of have to wonder, is it that he was born there to a direct descendant of Emu? Like, are there other Neronas out in the world or whatever? Or, because, like, I can go 50-50 on that. Part of me thinks that Emu might never have kids, because it's just like, maybe the kids will come back to bite him, because that's his will. It's like too strong or something. But then, it also could make sense, because, the Celestial Dragons are all freaks. Like, of course, it wouldn't surprise me if he's having kids too, and just, they don't care what happens to him. But I think it's just interesting. Or maybe it's not that Mihawk was ever in Marijois, but maybe he was born on the same island that Emu used to control, like, before the Void Century. And so there were still Neronas there that were, like, because of Emu's, like, family members back then. And so now it's like so he is related to Emu, but not a direct descendant. I think that could be cool. But I really like these ideas you're spitting, especially because now I can confirm that the Dracule family are not Carrot fans. So Mihawk went up my rankings for sure.
And something funny too. I guess this doesn't have to be true, but you know how, like, in every arc, Luffy fights the big bad villain, and then Zorro fights the number 2. Mm-hmm. It's like, okay, if they were to fight the world government, would Zorro just fight Nasujuro? Like, yeah, maybe. I think Zorro versus Nasujuro could be kind of cool, right? Sandai Kitetsu versus Shodai Kitetsu, sure. But if Mihawk really is Nerona Mihawk, then he could be Emu's right hand. He doesn't have to be. I think Mihawk is I think he has his own agency, but like what if Nerona is like, hey, or sorry, Nerona, Emu is like, hey, nephew, son, help me out. Like, I summon thee. Like, that would be kind of crazy. And then Zorro has to step in And because everybody's wondering, like, how does Zoro fight Mihawk in the story? Is it like end of story, Luffy gets the One Piece, and then Zoro says, hey guys, I'm gonna go fight Buggy's right-hand man. Like, hey guys, like, I'm gonna leave the crew for a week, I'm gonna go fight Mihawk. That's why it's so tough imagining, like, how does Zoro's story end? Does he fight him before or after Shiryu? We have no clue, right? I mean, even Shiryu, like, okay, you're going from Shiryu to Mihawk. Very power-wise, I think they're like heaven and day. Or night and day, heaven and earth. I kind of got that all mixed up there. That's how absurd that comparison is. And it's like, yeah, if Mihawk is right there next to Emu as an unofficial Holy Knight, as a member of the Noland family, maybe that's how it all comes together and it all kind of flows well. Luffy is fighting to become king of the pirate stash, king of the world in a way, which Luffy doesn't really care about. And then Zoro is fighting to become world's strongest swordsman at the same time.
Yeah, no, that I think that the idea you kind of said with like the right hand thing is really interesting, because I don't know if you've ever heard the theory that Mihawk used to be Shanks's right hand, but then quit at a certain point. There's like a few different theories on why that is. Like, not because he lost his arm, but maybe because like they were like Shanks's ambitions weren't big enough because he didn't want to go get the One Piece, and so maybe Mihawk was like, well, if you don't have bigger dreams than me, why am I here? Right?
Yeah.
Like that's kind of the idea. And that's why like they always had duels and whatever. It's like Mihawk never really got the best of him per se, but they were close enough, and like Shanks' dreams weren't big enough to where Mihawk just didn't see the purpose. And the reason why that would be a really cool idea is if like if Mihawk was Shanks' right hand at one point. Well, I think you can argue right now that Garling is Emu's right hand. At least I think.
Oh, yeah.
And so now you almost have an inversion where like Shanks's parent is Emu's right hand, and then Emu's kid would be Shanks's right hand. So there's like an inversion there. I think that might make the most sense, actually. I really like that, because Garling obviously just got the promotion. At God Valley, he was like he was being kind of depicted as like a hot shot, like he was like the number one, like people respected him. Obviously, Fagarland Shamrock is now the new captain or whatever of the Gods Knights. So it feels like Garling is kind of like a cut above the rest. Like maybe, he's with the other Gorosei, so maybe all the Gorosei are collectively Emu's right hand. But the fact that Garling got promoted, in place of Saturn tells me that Emu really believes in Garling. So I think that would be a pretty cool connection, man. So I'm, again, I don't know how it would work, like if that's Emu's kid directly or whatever it is. But that's really cool. I like that. I'm ready for the Mihawk hype.
Yeah, me too, man. We need it. We can't just have Mihawk being like a blank slate all series. Zoro comes in, we beat him, and it's like, okay, moving on. Like, we need something from him. Some sort of backstory, man, to make him feel good. Like, some reason why he's so strong, too. Like, I would love it if we get, like, a simple, sweet, sad backstory. And maybe Mihawk is the same way as Zorro, where, like, somebody else had the dream to become world's strongest, and Mihawk is like, yeah, sure, I'll take up that mantle. Like, I'll do this.
Mm-hmm. I love that. And, like, going back to the idea where, like, Mihawk, like, Shanks' dream wasn't big enough or whatever, it would really go back and kind of contextualize that line when, like, Zorro got defeated and he's, like, yelling to Luffy, like, I'll never lose again. Is that all right with you, Captain, or Pirate King, whatever he called him? And it's like, that would be a lot for Mihawk to look at that and be like, oh, man, like, that's what I was looking for this whole time. The guy I was with didn't have that big of an ambition. And so if the storyline, going back to Mihawk's story, maybe when he was young, he was really, really strong, and like he still probably had a lot of sword training to do. I don't know if he like came out the womb, just swinging, but it would be cool if he was always like stronger than everybody else, and then he finally meets Shanks, and Shanks is stronger than him, but it's gonna be really close, obviously. And then so the story becomes that he's always just looking for the next. What's that?
I love how everybody has to add that in. Like, whenever we talk about Shanks and Mihawk, Shanks, he's doing all this stuff, but Mihawk's right behind him. And then Mihawk's doing all this, but Shanks is right there. Like, we have to just add that in.
Yeah, don't want to upset the Mihawk fans. Not trying to do that.
Or the Shanks fans. People are rabid, man. They treat this like a sports team, dude.
I know. It's like
It's crazy. You
it's like a
can't like
gang
both.
rivalry. Like if I pick the wrong one, I'm just gonna get just hounded. You know, it's like
You're gonna get shanked on the street.
I want them both to succeed, bro. I got no I got
Same.
no like negative agenda for these guys. I'm not trying to push anything. But yeah, I don't know, man. I'm ready for Mihawk at any point. That like he's not a character that's really appealed to me in a massive way. Like I think he's cool. Don't get me wrong. Like, I'm ready for him, but he's not someone that like I personally have been attached to. But at this point, it's been so long, and we've gotten so little that Oda I'm ready. Give it to me.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. I've just always loved Mihawk. Ever since like we first met him, I thought it was just so freaking cool. Just like the design, the blade, it's like, oh my god. And then you see Marineford, and you know, I know people are pretty sour about Mihawk and Marineford, but I thought it was cool how it like he utilizes his gigantic blade, right? Just the whole thing where like he stood on top of it and like came down like that. I was like, oh, dude, that's sick. He's just literally smiting people.
Yeah, Mihawk was awesome in Marineford. I know people love memeing the Vista stuff, which I mean, hey, you know,
yeah, the Vista stuff was awful. I don't know, dude. Come on, Oda, please.
But we love Vista around here.
I hate Vista, bro.
You ever hear that Mihawk ordered his sword from Vista Print because that's where it became black.
That's crazy.
But despite that, though, like the thing where he says like Luffy, you know, gets all the allies to his side, and I mean Mihawk obviously looked, you know, badass during that, other than the Vista thing. So I don't know, man. I need some Mihawk hype anytime, Oda.
Yeah, please.
Because you're
Oda.
watching.
Yeah, because you're watching, please do it. We're begging you. We're begging you. So now let's just quickly talk about Blackbeard one last time. So how do you feel about him right now? Do you think he's going to be the final villain, or do you think that still goes to Emu?
Like, I think the most likely thing is Blackbeard takes Emu's powers, and then it's Emu beard. You know, I think that seems like where it's going now. The thing that Oda has to be careful about in my mind is, let's not just wash Emu out of the equation completely. Like if Blackbeard has to beat Emu first, and that powers him up, and that's the story, that can work. But let's make sure we really, you know, feel Emu and understand Emu before that happens, because I don't want Emu to just go by the wayside, like kind of like what happened at the end of Naruto a little bit. I don't want to mimic that, but at the same time, Blackbeard taking Emu's powers, that's just, it feels like it's being choreographed or telegraphed, I should say. It'll be choreographed soon. So yeah, I don't know. What do you think? I'm curious, because this is a really big point right now, I think.
Yeah, I think I definitely think that Blackbeard will be the final villain. Just because he's a member of the D Clan. I can't imagine a member of the D Clan like Blackbeard going down without taking down Emu and fulfilling that will, whatever it is. You know, personally, I think it's going to be the Half Moon. I think Blackbeard and Luffy represent two sides of the Half Moon, two sides of the opposing D Clan. I think that's what it is, and I think when they come together, that's how they'll take down Emu. And then afterwards, I agree with you. I think Blackbeard will have Emu's powers. I think Blackbeard will have every power. I think he'll be able to have every single devil fruit known to mankind, and that is how the final fight's going to go down. Mm-hmm. As far as like the Half Moon Clan, you know, that's a theory that's been around for the longest time, right? People saw the sun, they're like, oh, that, you know, that kind of looks like a D on the horizon. I think that's another great way to look at the D Clan. And it's funny, you know, thinking about the Celestial Dragons. I wouldn't be shocked if we come to find out that the way we get the Celestial Dragon hoof of their logo is from the D Clan even. Like, you put the two Ds side by side, you get that circle that is the hoof, and then maybe we'll get like an explanation for the footprint later on.
Interesting. I mean, you know, the idea with the two Ds, do you think that's like two sides of the moon, or do you think it could instead be like the dawn and the dusk? Because like when the sun's rising, it'll look like a D, but then you can kind of use the reverse logic, you know, when the moon is rising, quote unquote, or, you know, it has moon cycles, so there's like, I guess, a couple examples, but I feel like that would be also cool, because it's like one part of the D exemplifies the sun, one exemplifies the moon. I think that could work. But if that did happen, I feel like Blackbeard's would definitely be Davy Jones then. That's what his D would be, is because we just saw with Rocks, he's a Davy Jonesian pirate. But then for Luffy, I wonder like if it's a different meaning of D, like if there's another person's name who starts with D, and that's what the sun represents. I'm not sure how that would work. I like the idea though, but I definitely agree that Blackbeard has to be the final villain. And you also talked about Shiryu earlier, and like, is it going to be Mihawk then Shiryu, or like that's going to feel weird or whatever? For one thing, I wonder if the Blackbeard pirates have some more power-ups incoming somehow. Like maybe if Blackbeard does take Emu's powers, then he can grant other powers to his crew, right? So there's like more to him. But I feel like if Blackbeard's gonna be the final villain, then Shiryu being Zorro's final villain is kind of also telegraphed. Like that's kind of how it would have to work. So the Blackbeard matchups are the final matchups of the story. So
yeah. When it comes to Blackbeard too, another thing I think about, like with the Moon Clan, right? It goes back to like one of my favorite chapter titles of One Piece. I've thought about getting this tattooed even. Chapter 292. Chapter 292. The title of that in One Piece is "To Meet." Let me see the exact title so I don't get that wrong. It's the one where Noland.
To meet like the half moon hidden by the clouds.
Yeah, that is the Noland and Calgara backstory. And people are talking about the Skypiea references, right? Like, oh, Enel is kind of like Emu. His sky ship is kind of like whatever, Destroy La Lucia. And to meet like the half moon hidden by the clouds, that's a line that's kind of been reiterated in the Harley text as well in the Third World. So, or at least that's what Sandman said as well. And it's like, yeah, like I think the Half Moon Clan is going to be what it is. And I remember, like, I'm rewatching One Piece right now, and I'm going through Jaya and all these other arcs, and there's a lot of shots where Luffy's posed up with the moon. I've realized that, like, Luffy and the half moon is just always there. And then even with Luffy going in Gear 5th, he is, the moon is right behind the full moon. So it's like, there's going to be something there. I think it will relate to the sun, the moon. I think the moon more so than anything else. I mean, Luffy could be the sun god, and then maybe Emu is the person that they have to meet, right? Like the half moon hidden by the clouds. Maybe the sun has to meet the moon, because they never. I mean, they do meet in real life. I mean, they're always kind of right there, but they're always reflecting. But yeah, maybe that's the thing. Like maybe Emu's like the moon god, Luffy's the sun god, and they just have to meet one day. That's like a promise.
Interesting. Yeah, I'm trying to think of what my original theory was with the meeting, but I can't remember. But it's cool that this chapter it's about Noland and Calgara meeting again, but they obviously didn't get to because they both died, or like so they both die in this chapter too, or at least we presume Calgara. I mean, we know he's dead now, but I don't think we actually see him die. But and it's cool because they are going to meet again, or in my opinion already have, but they don't know, and that's through Luffy and Usopp, right? Yeah. Usopp is Noland, Calgara is Luffy, and I think they've already met, but they don't know it. And so whenever it comes back to like they will surely meet again, I definitely feel like that's a similar thing to this Noland and Calgara thing. Like there's people that died back then, and their wills are being inherited throughout time, and they will meet again with the understanding of the past. Like, oh, we are, I don't want to say reincarnates, but something like that. Like we embody the will or personality of these people from the past, and once we meet, we're supposed to achieve something, right? So I like that idea. I like between like these two, like if there's like a moon clan and a sun clan kind of thing.
But
I guess it just kind of becomes a question of who is it? Because like if Luffy and Blackbeard are opposites, like they're opponents, I don't know if that would be it. And the same thing with like Emu and Luffy. Like if they're opponents, I don't know if it would it would almost feel like these are friends who were supposed to meet. And when the friends meet, that's when things can happen. And so I'm not sure who they would be, unless it just is Usopp and Luffy. Like those are the two. Like the mural one is the same as this. And listen, Usopp is a prophet. He sees the future. The mural is also a prophecy for the future. I feel like a past Usopp probably made the mural because he's also an artist. So Maybe there's something there.
There's
don't
a
know.
lot of great duos in One Piece, right? I mean, you mentioned like Usopp, Luffy, Noland, Calgara. I even think that Emu and Joy Boy could have been a duo. I mean, and then of course they have like Roger and Rocks. We have all these unfortunate duos that sometimes go sour, or they are like rivals or enemies. I do think that this chapter title holds more than meets the eye. And, you know, when you really look into like where Oda got the inspiration for this title from, it's from like a 1,000-year-old love poem that nobody knows who actually wrote it.
Wow, I never heard that. That's crazy.
It's a 1,000-year-old love poem about two lovers not being able to meet. I was like, oh, that's it's kind of sweet. You know, and then Oda takes it and he kind of puts his own spin on it. And it's like, yeah, like, you know, we have that, and then we have the Harley text, we have, like, the Noland Calgara promise where they never were able to meet, but, of course, their descendants did. It's like, yeah, like, I think that, at the end of the day, we are gonna get, like, some sort of meeting like this that's impactful, whether it's, Luffy and Emu, or, you know, the sovereigns that the Sea Kings talked about, because he said they're gonna meet soon. Could be, like, Loki, Shirahoshi, Vivi. That could be it, too. I think there's a lot of really good answers there, but I am putting my stock into chapter 292, and you know, I've been getting a lot of tattoos recently, and I'm like, maybe I should get this one too. It's kind of sick. That's how hard I'm believing the theory. I'm just gonna get it.
Wow. Hey man, listen, Noland is my top 1 non-Straw Hat favorite character. So
I would almost I have a lot of, I think Noland's top 10. I wouldn't say he's top 1, but I love the Noland Calgara story though. That is like one of my favorite flashbacks in One Piece. You know, like
my number 1.
It's so good. I'm in Skypiea right now, and I'm like getting, you know, the whole Noland the Liar flashback. I'm like, oh god, I already know what's coming, but it's like, oh man, like just seeing how their promise gets so scuffed because of natural disasters. You know,
right.
Like, it wasn't the Shandorians' fault, man. Like literally, the knock-up stream just knocked them up. What the hell?
Well, yeah, well, that's the thing is, like, we still don't really know, like, why that happened or why it happened when it did.
Yeah.
And it, like, the timing is so particular that you kind of wonder, is there more to the story? And if you go back to that flashback, like, early on, they talked about how, like, there have been earthquakes lately, right? Because, like, remember when Noland got stuck in the crevice?
Yeah.
And, like, he couldn't get out? Well, I think that was like the knock-up stream activating and jarring that loose. It's just that it took many attempts to finally actually break the island off, right?
Yeah.
So it feels like it was happening for years and years, meaning that maybe even since the Void Century it's been happening. It just took until 400 years ago for it to get launched into the sky, actually, and then the knock-up streams were actually happening like the way we know them. But maybe back in the day, it just, you know, it was just stuck under there and couldn't budge it. But over time, it did. And so, yeah, like the timing is so in particular, you wonder, like, did somebody like make that happen? But then you also kind of wonder, is this like a fate thing? Like what if like the Ancient Kingdom or just the good guys like Joy Boy's team, maybe they wanted this to happen because like it's not time yet. Like if Noland and Calgara really team up and go start trying to improve the world and take on the powers that be, it's like that's too early, and maybe that would have messed up everything. So maybe it was like on purpose that they got split up for the plan. I don't know. Whatever happens, man, all I know is I'm ready to learn about Noland and Elbaf. I need my guy Jarl to just say, "Oh, I remember when Noland visited Elbaf 400 years ago because he was alive back then."
Oh, or if he drops like an Usopp line, like, huh, Usopp. You know, like the stupid Buggy
you
thing
remind
with the Rocks
me.
Pirates. Yeah. Like, oh, like, you remind me of a young Noland, Usopp. Like, oh my god, that's what we need.
You remind me of an old explorer that visited me 400 years ago. I was only a youngin', you know, but
yeah.
I'm telling you, that's my number one agenda. I've had a short recorded for a while, which I just haven't released, but I've had it recorded where that's my number one agenda. Like if all my theories are wrong, that's fine. All I need is for Jarl to say, "Oh, I met this Noland guy." Then I'll Jarl. Oh, he has to live then. Like I feel like Jarl's on the chopping block. But no, we got to find a way for him to live if that's the case. I don't care. Like even though he said bye to the library, and I was ready to say bye to Jarl because of that. But you know what? If he met Noland, then I'll give him a second chance.
Yeah, dude. Shout outs, man. Shout outs, Noland. Nobody's talking about this guy in 2025, but I think we should, right? Long Ring, Long Land important again. Noland's going to be important. Usopp descendant. I mean, it's, Elbaf connection. Give it to him.
All my agendas are coming to life right now, and I'm literally on cloud 10. I'm in Skypiea constantly, and not because I'm high, not because I've smoked anything, but it's because I am just like, I'm so elated that the Davy back fights are relevant, which I've been saying forever. Davy Jones is back, which I've been saying forever. Noland, even though we haven't heard him, I wasn't expecting Davy anything this arc. I was expecting Noland, so I think this is still coming. So One Piece is just in a beautiful place, and maybe I'm just biased. But
no, it's a great stretch. Which last thing, and then we're gonna end it here because I know it's getting hot in your room.
I'm actually pretty chill if you want to keep going, but it is we're getting there. It's 90 degrees in Ohio, so.
My God, dude, Ohio, no. Yeah, well, we'll go on for like 5 more minutes. I am curious, Emu, villain, outright. Or do you think we will sympathize with them by the end? I think that we will sympathize with them personally. I think Oda's done a really great job at making villains, but also giving them some sort of reasoning. And I think Emu will have a great reason as to why they're evil or why they had to do things the way they are. I've always kind of been on the boat that maybe, Emu worked with Joy Boy in the past, or, maybe Emu wanted a great world, right? Maybe they 900 years ago created the perfect world, and then after so much time, kind of like how Rocks and Doflamingo say that power doesn't last forever, maybe Emu's influence or what Emu had envisioned just didn't last either, and over like 900 years things change, kind of like many countries, many people, right? You start off with great foundations, and then after 900 years, you kind of get lost in the sauce, things get way more complicated, nobody could have envisioned this, and then now Emu's like over here destroying countries and raising the water levels. What do you think about Emu?
Yeah, I think we're going to be sympathetic towards Emu, and not that Emu's going to get completely redeemed or anything. We're not going to, I don't know if we're going to sit around saying, Emu is a saint, literally, like whenever we hear Saint Nerona Emu, that's legit. I don't know if we're ever going to feel that strongly, but just like a lot of other villains, I do think we will, we'll understand why and how Emu became what they are, and we have to hold their actions against them, but we won't hold the situation that brought them here against them, if that makes sense. That's kind of like what Doflamingo was, like, a little bit, because he was born in the Celestial Dragon, so he was kind of predisposed to being terrible, and he had the Treble and all them to influence him after that, and it's just it's not okay that he did anything that he did, but he definitely was from a young age sort of predisposed towards a lot of trauma, and then obviously when they did leave Marie-Joie, they were treated really badly, so it's even more trauma. So it's we kind of felt for him a little bit, but it doesn't make it okay. So I think the same thing will happen for Emu. And now as for what the situation is, my favorite parallel that I've thought of is Boa, because remember how Luffy crashed into Boa's bathhouse and he saw the scar right away, and so Boa was built up to be, kind of evil, kind of like a hard ass somewhat up to that point, and she kind of was, because she also turned Marguerite into stone later and whatever, but she basically Luffy went in there and learned a huge secret of Boa's right away, and obviously he wasn't affected by the love or whatever. And it humanized Boa a little bit at that point, because then later we saw, Luffy protected Sandersonia's scar, or scar, branding, whatever. And that kind of spoke to Boa, and then that made Boa open up and tell Luffy, all right, well, the reason why we're this way and we have these things because we went through some really bad trauma, we were slaves, blah, 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 blah. And I think we're going to get that same kind of thing where Emu obviously is a bad person, but I think Luffy's going to somehow, I don't know if it's a Joy Boy thing or if it's just the context of how Luffy meets Emu, but I think what's going to happen is, Luffy's going to get in there and see a side to Emu that nobody else knows. And I also think, just like how Luffy didn't tell anyone about the branding, I think he's not going to tell anyone about what's happening with Emu for some reason.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's that Emu's being controlled. Maybe Luffy will drop in there and get a feeling of wait, like I hear two voices. Like there's somebody trapped in there or something, right? Like an evil entity is controlling the body that is Emu. So yeah, basically, I think we're Emu's a bad person, but I think the way they got here is not just strictly I started bad. I actually think my favorite parallel is Dragon, because Dragon has all these countries that he's amassing to team up together, like these rebelling nations. And that's literally what Emu did. Emu went and got 19 other countries to team up with him. Like, hey, let's take down the powers that be. And that's what Dragon did. And I don't know if it's a story that, absolute power corrupts absolutely. I don't know if it's that Emu is the worst of two evils. Like, maybe Emu's like, well, I only did this because if I didn't take over with an iron fist, then somebody else would have, and it would have been worse. So whatever it is, I'm not sure what the situation is, but we're gonna feel for Emu. We're gonna have some sympathy, I think.
Oh, I definitely think so too. And it would be interesting if maybe Emu was waiting for Luffy to defeat him too. Like he's like, oh, finally you made it. Like I've waited 900 years for you to come over here and fight me.
Yep.
Like it's about damn time.
It's kind of the Kaido story.
Yeah.
Right?
Waiting for Joy Boy.
Mm-hmm.
Waiting for
and whenever
the dawn.
Emu had the sweat from the Joy Boy rope hockey, the probable reasoning is that he's just afraid of Joy Boy being back. It's really strong hockey. Joy Boy was his enemy. All that kind of stuff. But it could also be where Emu's like, "Oh my God, my time is coming. I know I'm gonna die when Joy Boy's back. Here he is. Oh God, I'm gonna die. Maybe he wants to die, but he's just afraid of oh God, the moment's finally here. I don't know.
Yeah, it's around the corner, guys. Thank God. I can finally go away. I've had enough of this.
It's like whenever you had to wake up for school and you wake up and hear the alarm. It's like, oh God, I'm not at school yet, but I'm just freaking out because I know it's an hour and I got to get up and get ready and I don't want to do this, but I know I have to.
Yeah, definitely. So with that being said, though, man, hey, thank you so much, Dax, for being here, spending your time here. Is there anything else you want to leave off on? Any last plot points about Buggy, Blackbeard, or Emu that you think we kind of skipped over? I'm trying to go through right now. I'm did we miss anything about Blackbeard?
Well, the only thing I can think of that we didn't touch on, which I'll give some food for thought for people to think about, but Kid may also be a descendant of Rocks or the Rocks family. We got some strong parallels, I feel like, with Kid and Rocks, and that's if I had to choose between Kid is way younger than Rocks, so he can't be his dad. But if I had to choose between the two, I feel like Kid being related, I'm almost more down for, because whether Buggy was related to Rocks or not, we're hyped for Buggy. Buggy's going to have some big moments. He's been, climbing up the charts of the whole story regardless. But Kid really needs some boost, so I'm really hoping that connection comes through. But yeah, I think we covered pretty much everything here. We're going to have plenty more to cover, though, is the thing, with the way Oda's cooking right now. So,
it would be interesting if, it's not even just a Rocks connection. What if we come to find out that Buggy and Kid are both D-Clan members, and they're the opposing D-Clan? Like Blackbeard, Kid, and Buggy fall on that side, and then Luffy, Law, and a couple others fall on the other side. That'd be kind of interesting, too.
That'd be kind of cool. What if Buggy, Blackbeard, and Kid are, they wouldn't be this explicitly, but they're almost like a Sabo Luffy situation.
Oh my God.
That's... again,
nuts.
Kid's way too young to even make this work even remotely, so it's not going to be the same thing. But I kind of like that. Oda's building these different D-set triplets that are on opposing sides. We saw the Sa Debo thing, right? So.
Yeah, anything's possible. Hell, Toki was around when Kid was born, right? She was around for a minute before she died. She could have sent Kid into the future, useless Kid, your time isn't now. Sends him off. I don't know why she would do that. I don't know how she'd even get to Kid or how Kid would get to Toki, but, it's One Piece. Literally anything's possible. And, like I said in your video, too, think about, the beginning of every arc. There's no way people could imagine, how we would get to, Rocks D Buggy. We'd get Emu Gunko on the island. There's just so many wacky things that happen in One Piece. And, it's not insane. It's not insane.
all theories are on the table. That's what Oda has showed us over the last 5 or 6 chapters. Is like we're getting an endgame One Piece. Oda's breaking all the rules. It feels like we're just releasing all the hype at the moment. So yeah, man. I don't know if that parallel will work super cleanly, but at this point you can't rule it out for sure.
Yeah, can't rule out anything. But thank you again, Dax. His channels will be all linked down below. You can find him over at Redacted Daxake.
No. So I'm over at Syvduck.
Oh God,
Retcon.
Yeah.
Psy, just plain Psy. Those are me. Make sure you guys subscribe to those channels. Trust me. Especially Syvduck in particular. That is actually the number one. If you had to pick one, that's the one.
I think so too. But hey, Dax, he's being way too modest. His links will be in the link down below. It'll all be there so you guys can check it out. And yeah, that's it, guys. Hopefully you enjoy the conversation, of course. We will be back sooner rather than later with the way Oda's cooking, like he said. Because I feel like these past 2 or 3 chapters, they really did just reinvigorate the One Piece community and just theory crafting as a whole.
It feels like Gear 5 all over again. It feels like the ultimate chapter all over again where we heard about Rocks. And I don't know if everybody feels this way, but it feels like Raizo is safe for me, where like that was such a huge moment that I just loved, and I was so bought into the story after that happened. It feels like Marineford again. This is a top level moment, and if you guys have any friends that are teetering on getting caught up in One Piece, or whether they're only halfway through or they're debating starting it, this is the time to push them a little bit, I feel like, to get caught up, because the train's leaving the station soon. As far as like we're going to start getting the endgame reveals. And so, time to get them in before the ship sails.
Yeah, lock it in, boys. But with that being said, we'll catch y'all later. Peace out.
Peace, guys.